What do you do with a story that was never meant to be heard? What do you do with pages that were never supposed to be read? And what do you do when the truth finally surfaces, not as a revelation, but as a warning? This case begins with a box. A simple, dust-covered archival box shipped from an anonymous source to a journalist in Maryland. Inside was a spiral-bound manuscript nearly 700 pages thick. No title, no signature, just a date on the first page, 1983. The second line was even stranger. What follows is the truth they erased. For years, people whispered about it, a rogue internal report detailing decades of covert operations, psychological experiments, and disappearances never solved. They called it one, implying more existed. But no one had ever seen an actual copy. Until now, the document was labeled simply, The Real CIA, Volume 1. 693 pages of secrets, and inside those pages one case stood out. A case so deeply buried that even now, 4 decades later, nothing about it appears in public archives. This is that story. It begins in the autumn of 1979 in a rural county outside Helena, Montana, a town of long roads, fewer rules, and a silence that didn't need to hide anything, because no one was listening anyway. Locals had grown used to helicopters flying overhead, sometimes military, sometimes unmarked. They never asked questions. That was part of living out there. You didn't see what you weren't supposed to. One night, a rancher named Samuel Witt reported seeing a series of bright lights descending behind a line of pine trees near the abandoned Cold Creek military site. He said it wasn't a plane. It wasn't a helicopter. It looked like something was falling, fast, and someone was trying very hard to keep it quiet. The sheriff logged the call. Nothing happened. Case closed. But 2 days later, a teenage girl named Leah Gray disappeared while walking home from a school event. She had taken the same forest trail she had walked hundreds of times. She knew it by heart, yet somewhere along the path, she simply vanished. No tracks, no blood, no signs of a struggle. Just the echo of a case that no one would properly investigate until much later. Her mother described her last words before leaving that night. "I feel like someone's watching me. I don't know why." The sheriff conducted what he called a light sweep search. A few volunteers walked the woods. No federal involvement, no alerts, no helicopters this time. Just quiet resignation followed by even quieter silence. The town moved on. The file collected dust, and Lee became another missing poster stapled to a gas station wall. But the manuscript, those 693 pages, told a different story. It claimed that Lee wasn't abducted by a stranger. She wasn't lost. She wasn't dead. The document suggested she had been taken intentionally, targeted because she had seen something she shouldn't have seen. Something related to that falling object reported 2 nights earlier. The report described an internal operation called Project Sundial, a psychological manipulation program that allegedly used isolated locations to test long-term sensory deprivation and behavioral fragmentation. According to the writer, Lee was transported to an underground site for observation protocol. There were transcripts, pages of them, short lines of dialogue, cold voices, clinical language referring to her not as a person but as a subject. One line stood out to, "Subject is showing signs of cognitive resistance. Recommend escalation." The manuscript never explained what escalation meant. It didn't need to. Then there was an unsigned memo dated 6 weeks after Lee vanished, typed in all caps, "Subjecti reliasis de me emo arstet uste le riti intio mimael, field displays him and kmpt released," as if she had been let go, as if she had come back. But no one in town ever saw Lee again. That's where the mystery deepened. The manuscript included a map, hand-drawn, showing the wooded area behind Cold Creek. There were markings, X and arrows, indicating tunnels' entrances, and access points that no local records acknowledged. According to the writer, these chambers were dismantled in 1981, stripped clean before a full government audit could take place. And yet one detail couldn't be erased. 3 years after Leah's disappearance in 1982, a woman was found wandering a highway outside Spokane, Washington. She was barefoot, malnourished, half-conscious. She gave only one sentence before collapsing. "They kept telling me I didn't exist." Her fingerprints came back as no match. No family. No history. But her age, 16, the same age Lee would have been. Doctors said she had undergone prolonged sensory deprivation. Her memory was fragmented, like someone had cut her timeline into pieces and only glued a few shards back together. When asked her name, she whispered one word, "Lee, I think." But here's where things get darker. She disappeared from the hospital 3 days later. No cameras, no witnesses, no footsteps, nothing. The room was left undisturbed except for one detail. A page torn from a spiral notebook lying on the pillow. A single sentence written in shaky handwritings. It wasn't an accident. The manuscript's author insisted this girl was Leah, and that her second disappearance was no mystery at all. According to the report, subjects who breached containment were located and retrieved quietly. But that was never proven. Because no body was found, no trace. Just more silence, and yet two more witnesses surfaced years later. Both claimed they had seen a girl matching Leah's description wandering near restricted sites in 1987, then again in 1992. They described her as thin, confused, and terrified of anyone in uniform. They said she warned them not to talk to her because they always follow. One witness claimed she said, "They changed me. I don't remember how to be real." The manuscript ended abruptly, no resolution, no conclusion. Just the final line from the anonymous writer. If she's still alive, she knows the truth. If she's dead, they buried the truth with her. And that's where the mystery remains. Did Lee ever return? Was she silenced? Was she a runaway pulled into the wrong place at the wrong time? Or was she a victim of something far larger? Something that still lives inside the pages of that 693-page report no one is supposed to have. Every attempt to trace the manuscript's origins failed. Every expert who reviewed it disagreed on its authenticity. Some said it was real, some said it was disinformation. Some swore it was a blend of both, the most dangerous kind of truth. But one fact is undeniable. A girl disappeared in 1979. Another girl appeared in 1982. And the distance between them is a shadow no one has ever been able to walk through. Some mysteries survive because no one cares. This one survives because someone cared too much to let it die. And maybe that's why these pages exist, not as evidency, but as a warning. Because if even a fraction of what's written inside that manuscript is true, then the real question isn't, what happened to Lee Gray? The real question is, how many others never made it into the report? And how many cases remain sealed, buried, or scrubbed away, waiting for the next box to arrive on someone's doorstep with nothing but a date, a title, and a final line that dares the world to read it? Sometimes the truth isn't hidden. Sometimes it's erased. And sometimes it's simply waiting for the right person to open the box.